Hey, it's his fault if I'm rambling. It's him again, driving me crazy from the beginning. I'm tempted to ramble again on the victory of Biden, the exit of the very stable genius, who is not leaving. But let me get back into the past because the present is crazy. Oh, but the past is also. Never mind. We'll try. So, trying to move on past a few minutes, and altogether trying to move on past this in the context of the whole life short period in 1990, which doesn't happen. I'm still there. I'm still figuring out. I'm still clutching and making material of something that is there because there's nothing in here now. So, this lovely lady, as I said, talks to the dog, chase her out to the ticket agency. We get into the car because she's on foot, and she will be for the next few months. When meeting her in sometime in 2001 or 2 in Pana Brashov, I suppose she was driving the Audi I saw there. But that's a long, long way away, 11, 12 years later, from the moment we're talking about. We're still 1990. And I was saying sometime in fall. And in the car, she says, I'm Miss Romania. If you're asking me what I'm doing tonight, as in that capacity, I'm expected to give a prize tonight. And yes, we can meet, but I just have a very little time because you see, I have to be at the Palatul Copilor, Palace of the Children, to give the award, and then I have a ticket, as you know, I just bought it, for the train, leaving after the show or during the show. I'm not sure. She did stay. I don't think she stayed to the end. She just had her moment on stage, duty, and then left. Speaking of which, that was one of the mistakes. I keep writing about this. In fact, I think I've wrote a few versions of what I remember a few times on the blog. And one observation that seems to be evident, or seems to be evidence, is that I got too involved on this side of the Queen. Also in writing, I avoid her name. I don't think I even mention it, maybe once or twice, someplace buried there in the deep pile of shit I'm putting online. But just use Queen from the Queen of Beauty, the princess. I invented some names that might be close, but still don't say who she is. Well, it can be observed, deducted, but as long as it could be part of the imagination, which she is. I mean, she is invented. I've read places. It's not my deep insight, but talking of the past, we're not giving out truth. It's what we remember of what we thought we understand back then. So it's not it's maybe a reflection of reality, but it's not reality. It's not what happened. So there's also this thing in the present. We don't know. I don't know. There's a spouse up there in a bedroom. I don't know her. She's changing. We are changing. I'm nothing like the crazy fool of 30 years ago. I'm worse. So, yeah, it's not clear. But she had this duty, she had this contract, and I got too involved on this side, too busy with the professional, say, aspects attached to her. When the conclusion has been that I should have stayed away and see her as a girlfriend, as a lover, for as long as possible, and then maybe this love affair would have lasted longer. But it's not clear. Maybe I've done, as I mentioned this, maybe I've done better to stick there, to be there, to drive her around, to try and see about the legal aspects, the complications of her duty as Queen of Beauty, as winner of the beauty contest. Because otherwise there would have been less time. There's also the other possibility that going along and maybe winning the big jackpot and being with her and let's say have her accept me as a consort, a prince consort, okay, for the Queen of Beauty. It's very likely that this would have ended soon. After all, she divorced the fucking fat cat, the crook, the scoundrel she would marry. She would marry that's future in the past, but she has married 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago today, in this year. And then, furthermore, being married to an actress in general does require patience, and it's not good for someone who tends to be jealous. I mean, what do you do if you're jealous, thinking your wife, lover, husband is maybe attracted by someone? What do you do when she has to kiss, embrace, and get naked in bed, or in front of millions of people with that person, or just alone? So what do you do if you have this tendency to be possessive, to be as I said, inclined to be jealous, an Othello. So anyway, finishing this for that day, we set a date. So I was to pick her up later in the evening and then drive her to the show, where I just waited outside, and then later on to the railway station. I was thinking about waiting outside, and that was also maybe not a good idea, because from the first few moments I was entering the shoes of if not a lackey, which is such a bad sounding word, servant. Hey! Then anyway, it's not good, because they have the elections again in the background. One has to project the idea of winning. Sometimes in the most desperate situations, like the very stable genius has lost and they're still projecting the notion that he actually won, which is horrendous. but it was, well, also ridiculous and somewhat funny for a short while. We've been joyful and we got rid of this catastrophe. But then it's beginning to look like maybe we have not. I mean, he's not moving, and actually the narrative is supported by his idiots. And the Secretary of State yesterday that they're preparing for a transition to the second Trump administration. So it's getting serious. And thus returning, me waiting as a driver outside, well, I probably didn't have a ticket. As I was saying earlier, surely didn't stay for the whole thing, which was probably very boring. It was a thing with awards. Oh, so let's give a prize to the most popular. Let's and maybe some folk music, some Manele. They were not invented back then, also. But some unpleasant, boring performances associated with this kind of thing. So maybe, probably, she stayed while it took for them to give her makeup or doing it herself. I don't know. Going on stage, and then what it took to get back, change again in her dress, or from her dress, and come out again. And this was part of what she signed up to, and I will get to it later, which took some efforts to undone, to make the point to those who had the rights, and because she signed on to this. If I win, I agree to go there, do this, and whenever, and show this, that this is abuse to a large extent. But we're getting there.